Hello YouTube, it is Shadow Hero 90. Welcoming you to my review series, Sexism in Movies and TV. Now, I've been doing this series for a decade at this point. And now, in 2026, I have more reasons to do this review show than ever. After doing this show for 10 years straight, I have actually come to find out that this isn't just my opinion. There are other people on the internet who are really fed up with the horrid way that Hollywood treats men and boys. Most of them are on YouTube, but it's not just my opinion. A lot of people agree that the double standard is real, and we get all sorts of messed up sexist stereotypes that are completely and unfairly imbalanced. Men are treated like sexist, perverted trash, where all female characters are basically just a group of Mary Sues, and even when they are acting horribly, these crap franchises will bend over backwards to try and put them in the right, even when they're not. It's not just my opinion. I have found a whole ton of other people who agree with me on this, who've noticed the obvious double standards. And believe you me, if you didn't see the season finale last year, Hollywood has a lot of sexist double standards that they either don't care about or would never be willing to admit to. Another thing I tend to bring attention to on this show is the fact that, well, all of the female characters who actually are good role models are more or less sidelined. All of the asshole and or feminist characters who are bad role models are essentially promoted like no tomorrow, put up front and center. And mostly Hollywood, mostly American TV, are the ones who are taking these characters who are obviously bad role models and promoting them like no tomorrow, as if they're actually trying to get innocent little girls to emulate the actions of these frankly evil characters who they're actually trying to pass off as good people, when anyone who's actually paying attention to the franchise's therefrom will be able to easily figure out that they are not. And on the other end of the spectrum, there are tons of bad male role model characters. They're either completely castrated, stupid, perverted, or portrayed in a way where, well, seeing them would actually cause young boys to develop self-esteem issues. And when young men have terrible self-esteem, they emulate characters like this pervert. Because sex has become so ingrained in our culture, and our society understands it so very little, and that's something that you can only counter by having good role models for young boys. Which is something Hollywood will not do as long as it stays woke. And here's something that I've realized. The fact that I could do this review series for an entire decade, as in critique and call out Hollywood's gynocentric, sexist, and overall misandric behavior at least once a month for an entire decade proves that we need a men's rights revolution in Hollywood. If anything, that is the one and only way to save it before the cancel pigs end up not only destroying Hollywood, but destroying any and all entertainment made in America, and then trashing American culture as a whole. And I guarantee you, they won't stop there. They're so desperate to look like good, decent people that once they've destroyed the West, they will go east. They will target Japanese culture, Chinese culture, Korean culture. They will find things in those cultures, mainly the entertainment that they've been producing, to call problematic and to rip apart. And the best way to stop that from happening is to stop them from destroying American culture first, by nipping the problem in the bud. And we do that with a men's rights revolution that forces Hollywood to make everything equal. How we do that is a story for another time. And with that all said and done, let's start the latest episode of Sexism in Movies and TV. The YouTube review series that calls out Hollywood's gynocentric and misandric double standards and has been doing so for 10 whole years. Okay, this episode might be a quick one, and as you can tell from the image, I will be ripping apart Disney's Beauty and the Beast. And this review starts with the recap. Prince, who technically is an 11-year-old boy, turns down a flower from, an old beggar woman. She turns out to be a high-level witch and turns him into a monster. He needs to find love before a certain point in time, or I guess he dies. I really don't care. Then he kidnaps this girl, makes her his prisoner. They bond. She more or less falls in love with him, but only because she came down with Stockholm Syndrome. There's a straw man character in the movie who the film really wants you to see as a misogynist, because he's trying to force the female lead to marry him when she isn't interested. He tries to save her, but ends up getting killed. The Beast goes back to being human, and he and the girl get married, and more or less they forget about the Stockholm Syndrome subplot. Okay, in the prologue, they accuse this little boy of being shallow and saying that beauty is only skin deep. But here's the thing, and it's a pretty, hypocritical problem with Beauty and the Beast. And it's the fact that when the spell is broken, he turns back into a human, and he's a prince. If you want this plot to work, you can't exactly have him go back to being human. The fact that he's rich could actually work because, he kidnapped her and she fell in love with him because of Stockholm Syndrome. Which brings up an actual plot hole in the movie. Something that Disney tried to lie their way around when they gave this piece of shit the live-action remake treatment. This relationship only happened because of Stockholm Syndrome. She obviously has it, because, I'm just gonna say it. I never watched this growing up because I had good taste, and I got all of my information about this gynocentric, idiotic piece of shit off of YouTube. And given the fact that the jokes the internet makes at this movie's expense basically boil down to this girl has Stockholm Syndrome, and the fact that I was able to write a skit about it in an epic movie type film that I am currently writing makes it clear that the relationship came about through Stockholm Syndrome and nothing else. Because according to the internet, i.e. people who have seen this movie, the straw man kidnaps the girl's father in an attempt to force her to marry him. And that's basically what the Beast did. And there's really no difference between them. And if you want to say that this guy is a villain, then you actually have to say the Beast is a villain as well. A year ago, I would actually have to make this big speech telling you what it would look like if this movie actually had integrity and wasn't poorly written and knew what it was doing, but with the help of Grok AI, I can actually give you a video representation, a term I just coined, in which someone makes a video to prove their point. In this case, I will be showing you what Bitch and the Beast would look like if it actually had integrity.
We have each other. That's all that matters now.
Okay, now that I've shown you two hypothetical endings for Beauty and the Beast that are free of hypocrisy, I have seen tons of videos addressing some of the flaws in this movie, or as I put it, the eternal joke that is bad writing. And one of those flaws is the fact that the princess is kind of a brat in this movie. She says she wants to go on this big adventure. But here's the thing. There is nothing keeping her there. Outside of the plot, there is no in-universe reason as to why she can't just leave and go on that adventure. In all fairness, I'm pretty sure her father would be okay with it. In all fairness, in the movie, she lets him go places alone, despite the obvious fact that he is mentally ill. So I really don't think her father is the excuse as to why she can't just, leave and go on an adventure. The people of the town that this movie's set in don't really like her all that much, except for the villain. I don't really think anything that bad would happen if she just decided to leave and embark on her own adventure. And like I said earlier, if she can allow her father to go places despite the fact that he's mentally ill, she can go on this adventure. And if he truly is so deranged that she needs to constantly babysit him, then the fact that she actually would be willing to leave him alone is proof enough of how irresponsible she is. And also begs the question of if she wants to go on this adventure and her father is kind of the problem, she can just wait for him to die. Given the images and clips used in various YouTube videos about this steaming piece of shit, I would not say that her father dying soon would really be out of the question. It could easily happen. So no, he is not an excuse. You could probably say lack of money. Then why doesn't she just get a job? Or her father can get a job, well, a new one that actually pays money, and save up money so his spoiled daughter can go on an adventure. Because this is the type of father who would spoil his daughter rotten and would bend over backwards to make sure she was happy at all costs. And the Beast is even worse in that regard. He spoils her way more than her father ever could, to the point where you could easily call her lifestyle completely hedonistic. Okay, now it's time for me to get the elephant out of the room. This was intended to be a more feminist Disney princess movie. Even the woman who wrote it said that they were going for a more feminist take on the typical Disney movie. But the problem with that is the fact that fairy tales are not and cannot be feminist. From what I saw on the internet, and by internet I mean YouTube, this woman really did stray from the fairy tale. And I mean she strayed from it a lot, because it was based off of some boy who was born with some kind of condition and was put in the care of nobles, basically as like some kind of twisted freak show. And then this one woman married him off to her maid because the maid apparently was very shallow and a massive admirer of great beauty. And whoever wrote the original Beauty and the Beast was inspired by that story, and it was very much propaganda for royal weddings and arranged marriages. It wasn't a feminist power fantasy, and that's kind of where they went wrong. I know on paper it makes sense. Hire a woman to write a female character. But that's kind of what Disney's been doing now. And it's been blowing up in their faces in the most hilarious of ways. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. Both of these characters are the same. And here's the thing. This woman could have made Beauty and the Beast as feminist as she wanted. She could have even gone overboard, but would have then ended up creating an ending that Disney wouldn't like because none of the little girls would be renting it on home video. From what I heard on YouTube, Beauty and the Beast, like I said before, was written as propaganda for any and all arranged marriages. These two characters are not different. They do the exact same things to the princess in this movie, and the only difference between the two of them is, the difference in wealth. The Beast is rich. The straw man is not. So, yeah. It doesn't really come as that big of a shock that the Beast gets to become human, while this guy ends up getting killed at the end of the movie. The idea of making fairy tales feminist is absolutely absurd. It would be like trying to make Bakuman, but making it anti-Shonen Jump. Or like trying to make Yu-Gi-Oh! And more or less making it anti-gaming. And when I say game, I actually mean games. Not sports, actual games. They rely on luck and skill, nothing else. And saying that, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is actually anti-trading card game. And Yugi and his friends have the same values as the assholes on 16, and that Yugi and his friends, they're just going through a phase. One that they'll eventually grow out of when they end up in college. Just ignore Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and you can definitely come to that idiotic conclusion that after high school, because an idiot would assume that this is just a phase or a fad that Yugi and his friends are really into, and that secretly they're as shallow and self-absorbed as these 6 assholes. And you could definitely make it work, despite every bit of continuity for the future of these characters says that their futures, well, for everyone except Taya, does involve the trading card game Duel Monsters. Like I said, trying to make fairy tales feminist is more or less just as absurd as making Bakuman and trying to make it anti-Shonen Jump, or trying to make Yu-Gi-Oh! And make it anti-trading card game, especially anti-Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. And the funny thing about that is, before Beauty and the Beast, I mean, yeah, because of the whole damsel in distress thing, a lot of brain-dead feminists actually were saying this was sexist. It is not. So they tried to give this movie a feminist undertone, and, well, it's basically a Disney princess movie. Therefore, combining it with feminism, or a feminist undertone, basically created the eternal joke that is bad writing. And the irony is, Disney was not sexist up until this point, when they actually tried to make the princesses into feminist icons. Because this guy first appeared in Beauty and the Beast, and truth be told, he was nothing but a straw man. He was specifically set up to be wrong, just so the furry monster here can be proven right, and this guy can end up getting killed. But the irony is that that character got a lot of fans in the real world, especially in an era where the joke that is bad writing has actually gotten funnier. If you're wondering what I mean by this, I mean the fact that we now have people on YouTube that are defending Disney villains. I mean, Captain Hook was originally the poster boy for this, but a lot of other Disney villains are being defended on the internet right now. The big bad of Aladdin is another one. Him, the guy from the villain in Beauty and the Beast, and Captain Hook are the top three. They're the top three Disney villains who are more or less being defended, and I can't say I blame the people who are willing to defend them. Like in Beauty and the Beast, the princess in Aladdin is nothing more than a spoiled brat. A really funny Aladdin parody would actually center around her not marrying Aladdin because she wants to marry for love, and basically the kingdom starting a revolution. And I can honestly say that because I have seen a lot of the videos people have made about Aladdin, and it should be pretty clear that he is basically a crook, but that's a video for another day. Yes, and to make it clear, the princess in that movie, like the one in Beauty and the Beast, was nothing short of a spoiled brat. her flipping out was because she actually heard the word no for the first time. And throughout the movie, she's motivated by the fact that she was told she actually had to do something she didn't want to, and she completely, proved what a spoiled, entitled brat she is. But like I said, that is a video for another day. Truth be told, Disney's princess movies were not sexist up until this point. And you're probably wondering why exactly that is. It's because this guy is the villain. And the truth is, he's basically nothing more than a straw man. They need this guy to act as stupid as possible, come off as an overglorified ape, and then get killed because, they need a straw man. Without one, you kind of come to the realization that the princess is basically just a spoiled, entitled brat. And to an extent, we've kind of come to the realization that this guy didn't really do anything that evil. He was evil, but in all fairness, he's just as bad as the Beast. Or the Beast is just as bad as him. There is really no difference between the two. They're both villains. They could have given the princess a rival, hypothetically written in a woman who was there but only interested in the Beast because of the wealth he had. But no, instead they needed to go with a straw man because, you need a poorly constructed argument in order to be able to rip it down all the easier. Truth be told, with a straw man whose argument is constructed poorly, but ironically acts no different than the Beast, you don't exactly notice that the princess is a spoiled brat until around 10 to 15 years later. The feminist critique of these movies, saying that they are sexist, is 100% wrong. And they really weren't sexist until Beauty and the Beast, because the villain in that movie was basically just a gynocentric, misandric straw man who was written to be easily defeated, even though the princess in that movie was nothing more than a gold digger, and by not marrying her, he probably dodged a bullet. And yeah, man-hating idiots have been saying that the damsel in distress trope is sexist for years now. But if you were to hypothetically put a modern-day career woman in, say, a damsel in distress situation, what are the odds that she'd actually be able to escape on her own? Well, with the help of Grok AI, I can easily give you a very good example of what that exact scenario would look like.
I'd escape from any damsel in distress situation. Yes! Freedom is mine! Ouch! Well, that didn't go as planned.
I know it's impossible. I'm the dragon.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this here and now. This, well, I'm just gonna say it. This movie was horribly written. It is the eternal joke known as bad writing. It wants to say that the prince was shallow, the straw man villain was shallow, and by that same exact logic, the princess is not only shallow, but she's also a gold digger. Because they want to harp on and on and on about inner beauty, and say the fact that this woman fell in love with an animal due to who he was on the inside, and not because of Stockholm Syndrome, despite the fact that all the signs of Stockholm Syndrome are there. Let's just accept it. She has Stockholm Syndrome. There's no alternative for her to act or respond to her situation in the way that she did. But getting on to that inner beauty thing, ever hear the saying, this man wasn't rich, but he was rich in spirit? Funny how Beauty and the Beast is the closest thing we came to something like that. And to even make it happen, they have to say that he was extremely shallow when he was turned into a beast as an 11-year-old boy, and he spent the bulk of the movie as an animal. Now that's just a fucking insult, given movies like Shallow Hal and other Hollywood flops that try to portray this stupid message. When it comes to dating, men seek a woman who is young and attractive so she can actually bear his children. And women seek a man who is strong and has a good income so he can, provide and protect. People understand this even if it's only on a subconscious level. To an extent that even Family Guy, written by Seth MacFarlane, the diehard liberal, was willing to admit that the rich guy fetish is a thing. And truth be told, this problem actually extends into other movies. So basically, yes, this is exactly what it sounds like. You're getting a little preview of what the next episode of Sexism in Movies and TV is gonna be about. I'm just gonna end this movie by saying Beauty and the Beast was a piece of shit about a monster who kidnaps a young girl and coerces her into marrying him through Stockholm Syndrome. She could have been saved by a hero, but the circus clowns who run Disney scrapped that idea, all for the sake of a moral that's not even moral. And in their infinite stupidity, Disney said, it's okay. It's because in the end, he's rich.